Watch, it's gonna crash. All I had to do was click, and it's gone. Oh my god, this game, though, I swear to god, it's like... It's never happened before, but all of a sudden, every time I try to click back into the game after syncing up a clap, as soon as I get back into the game, it's gone. What's up, guys? It's ThatChildGamer. Welcome back to another Doki Doki Literature Club video. We are playing more Lost Ascension. I don't know how close we are to the end. This is a very long mod. I'm gonna say that off the bat now. This has been one of the longer mods you've played, in comparison to like other shorter mods like Doki Doki and things like that. But last time we played this, Monika and Sayori have a little thing going now. It's not confirmed. Natsuki and Yuri are also in agreement that this might be a thing happening. I believe that Yuri and Natsuki are gonna be together, and I believe that Sayori and Monika are going to be together. That's just my prediction. I could be wrong. I don't know. But we're about to find out. I don't know if it's gonna be told in this episode, but we're gonna be told nonetheless at some point. I'm sure of it. We left off back in April. My god, it's been over a month since I played this. Holy shit! Today, as I'm recording this video, it's the 26th of May. We played this game a little over a month ago. Man, this is like actually I keep putting a lot of DDLC off for some reason. I'm not getting bored of the game. I'm telling you right now, I'm not getting bored of the game, but I do post a lot of other stuff now besides DDLC. It used to just be straight DDLC for a while, and then I switched to a lot more variety. So, I apologize for having this take so long. But let's continue, shall we? And then I don't even know where the fuck we left off. The four of us finished up our breakfast and then head out the door towards school. Okay, so this is the beginning of the conversation, okay. I thought maybe there was a sentence before this. And then Natsuki told me she absolutely adored the book. I mean, can you believe that? I felt my face. Oh yeah, the pink box. I forgot. Every time you load the game manually, it defaults to the pink until the next POV switches. I felt my face flush with heat as I stared at Yuri. We had just reached the school and Monika had opened the door for us as we made our way in. I apologize if I read like ass right now. I'm very, very tired. I just ate like buffalo flavored like chicken salad little bread things or whatever. Whatever you want to call those. It's hot, and my mouth is still a tiny bit on fire. Not that it's like overwhelming or anything like that, but it's definitely making my mouth water a little bit more, and that like really like doesn't help reading. I did not say that. I started in my response. I knew I'd messed up at that point. I said it was an interesting read is all. Sayori laughed as I turned my head away. Even though I was embarrassed, I kept up with the others as we walked through the silent halls. Wait, these stairs are too far from the club. Why should she... Do you guys want to see something memorable? At least memorable to me. Yuri stayed quiet, but she seemed just as interested as I was. Yeah, huh? I'm sure you found some pretty awesome places all that time you had. Sayori walked... Is that like supposed to be a roast for like just being in the clubhouse or the clubhouse? Fucking what is this, Mickey Mouse? Is that supposed to like a roast the fact that Monika has to just sit there and wait for the next club day to happen? Sayori walked up to the stairs in front of Monika, the president's face portraying her surprise at Sayori's bluntness. Right, come on. She raised up ahead of Sayori and Yuri as I shared a small smile. We followed them up the stairs to the second floor, only for Monika to open a door that read roof access. Oh, the roof. The roof. That's exactly what Yuri said. Even Yuri's a little bit confused. Yuri's face showed a bit of surprise as we made our way up behind the other two, while Sayori seemed extremely curious. Why would they let students go up even these flight of stairs to the roof? Like, why is this a thing they can access? Like, that should not be a thing. That's way too dangerous. Like, why do normal students have the access to go to the roof? She's never come up here before, has she? I looked over at Yuri and noticed that she had a similar look on her face. Seriously? It's just a dang roof. I couldn't help it, but I felt my own curiosity spike as we made our way up to the top of the school building. Well, I know it isn't much, but I let my eyes adjust for a moment before taking in the view. What? I walked over to the fence that had been placed around the top, looking out over the buildings. I realized that most of the town I thought I knew was just gone. Oh, are they sad now? I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this, but I'm assuming that when they looked out, that it's just fake nothingness. Sayori said it as she clutched the metal link near me. I looked over at her. She looked down at what was supposed to be our sprawling town. So much is gone. It's just not even there. I looked back out at the missing parts and felt something drop in my stomach. This just wasn't right. I know, that's what caught me off guard before. Monica spoke up as she sat down, her back up against the fence as she closed her eyes. During the normal story, I would be quote-unquote practicing piano, but while I sang my reality, I was actually just up here, looking out over this mess of a townscape. She said it quietly as she faced out towards the mostly empty horizon. She seemed a bit lost for words in the moment. Well, I think even with what's missing, still beautiful. Yuri spoke up in a hushed whisper as she stared out into the emptiness. She had brought up her little coding box. A look of concentration was showing up on her face, her eyebrows furrowing as she thought over the situation at hand. I mean, we can make this our world, can't we? She said it quietly as she looked over at her box again. She didn't seem sure what to type as Monica looked up at her. We can do that later, okay? I know you want to fix it now, but if we make any drastic changes, he will notice, and we really don't want that. Yuri looked torn, but she put it away, her silence returning as we looked out over the horizon once more. Eventually, I shook my head as I took a step back. Why should we even care, huh? It's not like it really matters, plus you said we can fix it later, so let's put this away. I felt my thoughts run as I spoke, clamping my mouth shut as I looked back at the door. Plus, I really want to go downstairs and read manga, so let's quit wasting time, alright? Classic Natsuki. Monica smiled as she stood up and sighed. I agree. No reason to waste time up here. Yuri pulled her eyes away as she looked at me, the sudden realization as to what reading manga implied. Oh yeah, because Yuri promised to read manga with Natsuki. I completely forgot about that. It's been a month, okay? Leave me alone. It's really pretty up here. Sayori said it quietly. She continued to look out. We all stood there watching her as she stepped back and looked at us. It's nice to be with everyone. She looked out of it, my thoughts going back when I found her by her front door out cold. She had been clearly crying when I found her, and the face she had now? She really is troubled about all of this, isn't she? Yuri walked over to her and hugged her, Sayori's smile appearing as she hugged Yuri back. The two of them remaining silent for a few moments before Yuri let go. It is pretty up here, isn't it? Maybe we can write poems up here tomorrow before the club meeting. Sayori's eyes lit up as she looked at Yuri, her smile coming back full force in spite of her just seeming down. I'd like that a lot. What do you think, Monica? Monica smiled as she walked over and gazed out towards the town before looking at the two of them. Yes, I'd like that too. How about you, Natsuki? The three of them all looked at me with those puppy dog eyes. My heart twinged as I sighed and looked out towards the town. Yeah, sure, whatever. Can we just go now? Classic Natsuki. Yuri let out a quiet giggle as the others smiled brightly, the four of us heading down the stairs and towards the club room. Yeah, sure, whatever. Can we just go? This literally just happened. I suppressed a quiet giggle. Oh, it's Yuri's point of view now, that's why. I suppressed a quiet giggle as we made our way off the roof. I didn't know Monica would appreciate a place like this. To see the world broken and distorted and use it as a place of quiet reflection. She is quite the conundrum. As we walked towards the club room, I continued to watch Monica. I was very curious about everything that happened before, but she seemed hesitant to tell us. A thought still nagged at me in the back of my mind because I knew it might not be a good thing to know. But she still needs to tell us, or she'll never be able to let go. Will she? My thinking was interrupted by Natsuki snapping her fingers in front of me. I shook myself free of my conscious thoughts and I looked at her. You ready to read manga today, huh? She whispered it into me softly as we got closer to the club room. I completely forgot about that. So did I, Yuri. Don't feel bad. My neck is actually really killing me. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning and my neck has just been hurting all day today. So if I twinge a little bit, then that's exactly why. My neck is just not where it needs to be for recording. I completely forgot about that. After we write our poems, okay, Natsuki? She frowned as she putting it off like this is what I would do. I'd put everything off to the last minute. She frowned and she looked at me. Don't you take too long, or else I'll force you to read it with me. Well, you know what I meant. She pouted a little bit as I smiled patiently in response. Don't worry, I won't break a promise that I have made with a friend. Trust me. Natsuki seemed to relax as I said that, her usual smile coming back. And I will always keep mine. She looked back at the others as we reached the clubroom door, the four of us entering and taking in the familiar scene. Alright everyone, we have a few hours before he shows up, so let's enjoy ourselves. Oh, and write your poems too, don't forget about that. Monika said it cheerfully as she went up to her podium while Sayori trailed close behind her and sat down across from her at her usual desk. Hey, you want to sit next to each other again? Natsuki said it excitedly as she whispered to me once more. I looked at her and nodded. I mean, why not? She's good company. I followed her over to her desk and sat down next to her as she pulled out a piece of paper and began to write out a title for her poem. Does she already know what she wants to write? I gazed at her fast-moving pen as I pulled out my own piece of paper. I glanced down at the blank sheet as I began to scribble out a title. The Caged Ribbon. I stared at the title, thinking over the implication before erasing it and rewriting it. The Tied Ribbon. I smiled at myself as I began to write out my thoughts onto the paper. My gaze drifting into each of my friends as I continued to write. Friends? I stopped for a moment, my pen freezing in place before I continued at a much slower pace. Friends are a good thing. They help me out. I felt my usual speed begin to return as I started to feel a new emotion come over me. My attention only diverted when Natsuki pulled her pen down and looked over my poem. Whoa, you're writing a lot more today than yesterday. She said it as she was watching me write. I glanced over at her and paused. Yes, that's because today I have something more important to talk about in comparison to yesterday. Natsuki nodded as she watched me write. It was a bit embarrassing, but that was okay. I knew Natsuki wouldn't actually judge me for my way of doing things. You almost done? She said it quietly as she began to get up. I should be in a moment. I just want to make sure I got this right. I looked up at her as she gave me a passing smile, her destination set for the closet. Meanwhile, my attention was drifting back to my poem. I read over the lines before sighing. Glad that didn't take too long. I looked up at the clock, and much to my surprise, it had already been almost an hour since I started. I guess it has been a while then. How much fucking lines did you write on that paper, Yuri? How did you It's almost been an hour, and you started writing a poem almost an hour ago. What? That's a lot of writing. I mean, maybe she did kind of scribble some things, but imagine if you didn't even stop a second, and you wrote all that down in that time. Just imagine the freaking bulletin list of lines you'd have for a poem. That would take forever to read. I hope I don't have to read that. Not that I don't like any of their poems, it's just a matter of I don't want to spend 20 minutes trying. I guess it's been a while then. I smiled to myself as I slipped the poem into my bag. I looked over at Natsuki and she dragged her chair over and was now standing on it in the closet. Don't fall, Natsuki. Natsuki, what are you doing? I got up and went over to her. Watching her, she reached up and pulled down a box. Huh? Oh, hey. She seemed a bit nervous as she was standing there. Do you need help, Natsuki? I walked up next to her. She was holding the box close. No, I'm fine, Yuri. I just need to get them down. Monika put them up here again. I looked out of the closet. Monika and Sayori were shooting us glances, a very obvious smile appearing on Monika's face. So you did do that on purpose. That's funny. Well, here, let me help you, Natsuki. I reached up to grab the... It's the poem panic. Oh, this is exactly what happened with MC back in the original game. I reached up to grab the box from her, but she lifted it up quickly and I instead latched onto her sides. My face became overwhelmingly flushed. Natsuki, why did you... Natsuki had a similar look on her face as she looked at my hands. Why are you clutching me so tightly? I looked up at her as she tried to shake me off. Natsuki, wait, don't, you'll fall! I nearly screamed as she suddenly lost her footing, the two of us crashing down onto the floor in a pink and purple heap. Crash. I look like in my face, for some reason when my window's shut and stuff, my face cam makes me look like fucking Two-Face. Like, my light's here, and I don't have another light on this side, so my face is just completely dark on this end. And it's like Two-Face over here. Natsu... I opened my eyes as the movement finally settled, only to realize I was getting an eyeful of her. Oh god. Pink cat. Oh god, no. Yuri! Yeah, Natsuki screeched as she shot up and got away from me. She was leaning on the wall and she looked down at me, her face completely and utterly red. Were you staring at my skirt, you big pervert? She said it loudly as she looked away from me. She was glancing at me as she looked down at her box of manga, which I had kept attached to my chest as we fell. Not a single book had fallen out thanks to my effort. Natsuki's once angry expression softened up as she realized what I had done. She seemed unsure of what to say, but regret was clearly laced in her eyes, now as the others finally made it over to us. Are you two okay? Sayori said it as she looked us over. She was poking and prodding each of us. They seem fine to me, Sayori. What was she doing, like poking us with a stick to see if we're alive? Monica said as she crouched down next to me. I hadn't yet moved, still reeling over the pink cats I had seen earlier. Oh, thank goodness. I thought one of you might have been injured on that fall. Sayori let out a huge sigh of relief as she shook her head. Oh, I just got a great idea for my poem. She said it suddenly as she raced off. Monica stared at her with a raised eyebrow before she looked at the two of us. Glad you two finally came out of the closet. Oh, come on, Monica. What the fuck? My neck kills every time I look back. I'm sorry. Oh, my freaking Monica. God damn it. It's so sweet to see that happen. She winked and stood up straight and made her way back to the front of the room. I think we're starting to figure that out now. As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm pretty sure they have a thing for each other. It took a moment for me to digest what she just said. And I'm pretty sure Natsuki has the same fucking thought. Fucking Monica. Natsuki said it defeated as her response went silent. She finally came over to me and knelt down. She took the box from me and placed it on the combined desk before reaching down to help me up. Why did you stare? She said it quietly as I got up with her help, my face flushing deeply. It was just shock, plus I thought they were cute. Yuri, that's not what you say in this situation. Natsuki just stopped for a moment, seemingly unsure of what to say. Thanks, I guess. Oh goddamn, Yuri, you fucked shit up. You turn back. It's not too late. Just walk away from this. She turned back to her desk and reached into her box, pulling out the first volume of manga series. She then placed it down before taking the box back to the closet. Natsuki made extra sure to put it low so another accident wouldn't occur. Although another moment with you sounds like a good tea. Oh god damn it! Is that supposed to be like a reference to the mod Another Moment with You? God damn. I smiled to myself. She picked up her manga and motioned to me to come sit with her. She thankfully decided to sit against the wall, and after that tumble, not sitting up straight in a chair was a blessing. I slid down next to her, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. I rested my head on the wall as Natsuki scooted over closer to me, holding out her manga. Parfait Girls? This is the one you were talking about all the time, isn't it? Natsuki nodded as she opened the first page, a small smile appearing on her face. With everything else being so absent, I'm surprised that this was made completely. I cast my glance over my shoulder at my own bag for a quick moment, the same thought sticking there as I thought about my own book. Hey, are you even paying attention, Yuri? Come on, you promised! I looked back at her as I smiled apologetically, not meaning to make her angry. Sorry, I was just thinking about how interesting the experience would be, is all. Natsuki looked at me with a bit of concern before holding the manga out to me. I gently held the other side, with my hand farthest from her. So, this is about a baker? I asked her quietly as Natsuki shook her head. No, it's about... She looked at the page that I was now currently looking at. One of the girls was is in an apron, I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot they did that. She smiled brightly. You forget your own book that you've read like 17 million times over, Natsuki? That's not okay. It's not actually, but it's about these 4 high school girls who are really good friends. They all take care of each other, even when things get tough. I look up at her as she explained this, my eyes narrowing. This sounds exactly like our situation. Thank you! Thank you! I have been thinking about the same thought ever since the original game, and this is the first time I hear it in a mod. Holy crap. Like, somebody actually gets that. So this sounds exactly like our situation. Is that so? So I'm guessing they all have to go through a hardship, such as one of them gets into trouble because of a boy? That sounds like it! Natsuki looked at me and nodded. Actually, one of the big points is that they fall in love with the same guy at an ice cream shop. It's actually really funny. Natsuki smiled cheerfully as I continued to look at her before shaking it off. Likely a coincidence since we're already kind of in a manga ourselves. True, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't like to consider it manga. I'd like to consider it visual novel. I don't read manga. I think it's the same reason I don't really read normal, like, newspaper, stories and stuff. Like, I don't watch the whole, like, anything that looks like kind of, the cartoon, like, timelines or whatever. I don't really read those very often because I've never really gotten into them. I think the only one I really got into for a while was Calvin and Hobbes, but that's about it. Anyways, why don't we don't have a ton of time, so let's get started. I nodded as I felt my head scream for mercy, the two of us settling into reading about the 4 heroes of the story. Natsuki would occasionally laugh as we read through the manga. Admittedly, there was a good few jokes and one-liners slipped in. I love this part. She said that with a lot while we read. I'm sorry. I would have to look over at her just to catch a glimpse of her amused face. It was always a bit shocking to see it. Oh, this line. She seemed to get dead serious when we got near the end. The line, "He just wanted the pleasure of watching us suffer," came up. That's fucked. That kind of sounds like our situation. I looked at it oddly as she turned to the last page. Natsuki at this point looked up at the clock and back down at the manga before closing it. She placed it off at the side, having finished it with me. We still have about an hour. She looked over at me curiously. My nose is starting to itch. Do you just want to stay here until we need to move? I looked at her and smiled. Sure, it's much more comfy being able to slouch a little bit anyways. She nodded in agreement and she let her head rest on my shoulder. I looked down at her with surprise, but decided not to comment on it. I cannot fucking read, I'm sorry. Instead, I let my head rest on hers as we watched the clock. Thanks for this, Yuri. Or, well, I guess let me watch the clock. Love it. Alright, now Sayori! Yay! Oh, shoot. Monika said it loudly as she looked up the clock. Yuri and Natsuki had both fallen asleep, and Monika was panicking. Yuri! Natsuki! She rushed over and shook them both awake. 10 more minutes, Dad! Natsuki said it sleepily as she turned back, bringing her face into Yuri's shoulder. Monika? Yuri yawned sleepily as she gently pushed Natsuki off of her, the pink-haired girl shaking herself awake. Did you two stay up all night or something? Come on, he's almost here. She had rushed to the door, but froze in place. Oh, no, I'm too late. She backed away and looked around before dashing into the closet, the other two now making their way to their spots. Sheesh, it's not that big of a deal. Natsuki said it as the door swung open, revealing the MC model making its way into the room. Monika was still hiding in the closet, barely visible to me. He looked around the room before I decided to take charge, stepping over into his view. Hi, Devin. I smiled at him as he looked back at me. Yo, Sayori. Looks like you're in a good mood today. Admittedly, I am in a better mood today than I was yesterday. It's because I'm just not used to being here is all. I lied to him through my teeth. I was in a better mood because Monika comforted me last night. It had nothing to do with him. I see. It only takes the simple things to keep you happy, huh? I looked at him oddly, trying to decipher exactly what that meant before pouting. Speaking of simple, I'll figure it out later. Would you like to come with me to the vending machine? I said it plainly, even though I didn't think he was that big of a deal. No thanks. I looked at him and a bit stunned. Why not? I tried to sound surprised, even though I knew this was coming. I have my reasons. Why don't we take a look at your purse, Sayori? I felt a twinge of anger hit me. Does he not know it's rude to look into a woman's purse like that? But why? He looked at me and smiled, my heart freezing up with a bit of fear. No real reason, really. I just wanted to check it out. I slowly went over to my desk and pulled out my coin purse. I opened it and looked inside. Just 2 coins? I made a mental note to get more change as I poured out the 2 coins on the desk. I looked at him a bit embarrassed as his eyebrows narrowed. I knew it. I can see right through you, Sayori. I pushed my fingers together as I looked away from him. How'd you even know? He started to go into a rant about how he had cleverly figured out my snack-stealing scheme. Admittedly, it was kind of impressive. You're always hungry, so that only leaves the one option. I looked at him and felt my senses take over again. I am not. Stop making me feel guilty. He smirked smugly as Yuri let out a quiet laugh. Did I do a good job? Oh, were you listening in? The character model turned and looked at Yuri, a smile on her face. No, I wasn't. Yuri put her face back in the book. I cannot fucking read. I'm sorry, hold on. Yuri put her face back into her book. She didn't seem interested in trying to convince him otherwise anyways. The two of them had a short conversation as I looked down on my desk. Last night had been pretty rainy. It's not too bad anymore, is it? I looked back at Monika, who was still hiding in the closet. She was looking at me with a worried expression. I smiled brightly at her, and she smiled back. The two of us made a great team. She's just sitting there in the closet waiting for all this to roll around. And I guess with Sayori, it's like there's a little devil inside all of us. I perked back up as Yuri said that, and I smiled deviously. I let out a bit of a shallow laugh before he looked at me again. Don't let her fool you. She knows exactly what she's doing. I pouted again. You wouldn't have come here if I hadn't tricked Natsuki into making cupcakes in the first place. I said it a bit loudly, Natsuki overhearing me as she walked through the door. That was when I remembered the next part. Ow! Fuck! I completely forgot that she slaps the cookie in my face. I got hit right in the face with a large cookie, and I nearly fell over. How do I forget the original stuff? Like, the original stuff is the easiest shit to remember. Yeah! What was that? What was that? I looked down at my newest item in my inventory. A cookie? Is this a sign? I picked up and unwrapped it from his plastic tomb, just to start stuffing it into its newest tomb. Oh man, I've been waiting all day just to see that reaction. Natsuki held up her own cookie and took a bite out of it, her face smug. When I went in for my second bite, I felt a twinge of pain come through my mouth. Ow! I bit my tongue! I stuck it out and tried to look down at it, to make sure it wasn't bleeding. That's a lot of struggle just for a cookie. Natsuki set it off to the side as she kept eating away. My hunger starting to kick in when I noticed it was a chocolate cookie. Can I have a bite of that? I stood up and walked over to her, smiling widely. Seriously, Sayori, I just gave you a whole cookie for yourself. I frowned a little as I thought of a way to get a bite from her. But it's okay if you want some of mine too, I guess. She tore off a piece and handed it to me. My eyes widening as I stuffed it in my mouth. That didn't happen in the first game. Sayori went around the back and took a bite out of it in her hand. Thanks, True. I don't know what the fuck that meant. I could feel Yuri glaring into the back of my skull when I spoke with my mouth full. Oops, sorry. I apologized hastily as I went back to my desk, returning to my afternoon feast. Anyways, now then. Natsuki looked up at the podium and stopped eating. Wait, where's Monica? In the closet? How is that gonna roll over? We all looked up and around, trying to act surprised as Monica's eyes widened. She didn't seem sure what to do. Where do you think she's run off to? Yuri said it quietly. She got up, moving herself in front of the closet, at least from his point of view. I don't know, she's pretty popular after all. I piped up as I munched anyway. Maybe she has, you-know-who. I didn't like saying that about her, it felt wrong. That wouldn't surprise me. Yuri is shifted so, giving Monica cover to move fast. Am I gonna see a little tiny Monica fly across the screen? Yeah, she's more desirable than all of us anyways. Natsuki was right about to agree, but then she froze. Wait, what the heck does that mean? And it's Monica's turn. Oh, this must be freaking great. I'm super sorry. I burst into the room, having just barely managed to get out of the door without him noticing, the group turning and looking at me. There you are. He looked at me so sternly, his voice sounding a little more sinister than usual. I didn't mean to be late or anything. I really hope nobody was worried. I said it feeling embarrassed. I just nearly screwed up the entire plan because I wasn't paying attention. Sayori smiled at me. She seemed genuine. It looks like Monica chose the club over her boyfriend after all. Yuri and Natsuki both smiled when she said that, my face getting flushed. Boyfriend? What are you on about? I felt my lips pushed together as I glanced over at the MC. At the MC. That I remember this particular line used to embarrass me to no end. Not anymore. Ah, never mind that. What held you up anyway? I looked over at him. My last period was study hall, so I just kind of lost track of time, was all. It was a genuine truth, but not in the game sense. Well, that's alright, Monica. Sayori said it cheerfully as she turned back to her desk. Yes, it's alright, Monica, at least you're here. Yuri agreed as Natsuki looked at me quizzically. I would have thought you would have heard the bell at least. She puffed her cheeks as she went back to her desk, the situation slowly dying down. Anyways, did I miss anything? I said it as I looked at the others, a small smile crossing Yuri's face as she giggled to herself. Natsuki's puffed cheeks got more obvious. No, not really. The MC spoke up as I nodded. I walked past him to my podium and sat down in it. Sayori looked up at me reassuringly, however the attention was being given to Yuri, whom the MC was approaching once again. What is with guys and always going after the quiet girls? Doesn't he know they don't usually want to be messed with? Yuri seemed to clench up a little as the two of them started to chat again. Her discomfort was obvious. Yuri seems even more angry than yesterday. Sayori whispered it to me. I looked over at her and nodded. I have a feeling he's gonna want to spend Sunday with her, and that won't end well. Sayori suddenly seemed extremely concerned. I forgot about Sunday. I frowned as we watched the two talk. Yuri stood up awkwardly, moving her way towards the cupboards, the MC model following her. I think she has as well. I said it quietly as I watched him, my mind racing as I pieced together the interaction about to occur. Concur? Is that what I said? Sure, we can go now. Yuri said it with a pained smile on her face. I walked over towards them. Where are you two going? Yuri and the MC both looked at me. He spoke up with a stutter. Well, me and Yuri are about to go fill up the water pitcher. I tilted my head. Don't you think that's kind of a one-person job? I said it innocently, Yuri looking at me apologetically. Can you please mind your own business for once, Monica? I could feel the force behind those words, even if they weren't said to be hurtful. Sorry. Yuri grimaced slightly as she looked at me, but smiled softly before returning to her frown and leaving with him. As the door closed, everyone else let out a sigh of relief. Natsuki stood up and walked over to me, staring at me in the face as she put her hand on my arm. You okay, Monica? You seem wow! You seem taken aback by that. I nodded. I've heard it before, it just still kinda hurts is all. Natsuki let go and looked at me with a semi-sweet smile. It's alright, it looked like Yuri didn't mean to be so forceful. Her smile faltered a bit. Still, it doesn't mean she's very happy to be alone with him right now. Natsuki crossed her arms. She looked genuinely concerned. I'm sure Yuri will be okay, Natsuki. As long as, she's as tough as you, I'm sorry. Natsuki seemed to retract more as Sayori said that. I'm really not. Sayori hugged Natsuki, the smaller girl seeming confused as she hugged her back. Sayori, what are you doing? Sayori let go and smiled brightly. Just taking another bite of your cookie. I know you're worried, Natsuki, but Yuri can do anything. Natsuki smiled and nodded in agreement. The three of us chatted for a minute before the quiet footsteps of Yuri returning sounded out towards the door. We returned back to our normal positions, Natsuki watching the door eagerly as Yuri walked back in with a water pitcher filled to the brim. She gave me an apologetic look again, my worries going away as she filled up her pot with the freshly gotten water. Do you like oolong? Yuri was looking at him, but she said it a bit louder than normal. The rest of us perked up as she moved her tea set over the teacher's desk and got it set up, the water boiling soon after. The two of them struck up a quiet conversation, Sayori and I watching them. It seems she made us all tea, even though she didn't have to. I said it quietly as Yuri poured out 2 cups for herself and the MC, leaving behind the mostly filled tea kettle for us. She looked back at us and nodded towards the kettle as she and the MC went over to the wall, sitting down next to each other. Yeah, I could use a cup. Sayori stood up and made her way over quietly, Yuri keeping them distracted as they shared a book together. I looked over at Natsuki, who was trying her best not to stare, her attention being split between the notebook and the 2 on the wall. Here. Sayori offered me a cup. I took the tea and took a gentle sip, the flavor washing over my tongue as I relaxed. Sayori eventually made her way back to the end of the room as well to offer Natsuki a cup. Natsuki seemed grateful for that, thanking her with a smile as she came back around, her hands wrapped around a cup of her own. Do you really think this will end okay? Sayori said it softly. I looked over at the worried girl and smiled. I'm sure it'll be alright. Like you said, Yuri's tough. Sayori smiled worriedly as he put a piece of chocolate into Yuri's mouth, all 3 of us staring at the 2. You! Natsuki said it a bit too loudly as she clutched her desk. Yuri clearly looked uncomfortable as she sat there, my mind racing. Just a little longer, Yuri, come on. I went over to my podium, Yuri eyeing me. I'm sorry he went for you. I couldn't say it, but instead hoping the message was clear as I put my teacup off to the side, the MC getting ready to continue his chocolate conquest. Alright, everyone! I said it loudly as the tension in the room was reduced to nothingness. Any longer, and Natsuki... I looked over at the smaller girl. She looked pretty mad. Her face was bright red as she finally relaxed, and after a moment, she looked up at me with a thankful grin. It's time to share poems! I looked at the 2, Yuri looking relieved, and the MC looking shocked from the sudden end to his escapades. If you 2 can clean up, I would appreciate it. Yuri nodded as she picked up her 2 cups and her now jilted friend got up. He wiped off his pants and went to the middle of the room, in a very similar fashion to yesterday. Alright, so who are we gonna share poems with today? Dun da da, I can't even fucking save. So what was the, what did I do last time? I think I went Sayori, Yuri, Natsuki, the Monica, I think it was? I know I'm supposed to technically show these Yuri first, because the game did say we chose Yuri, but I'm gonna do it in the way that I did it with the original game. So, Sayori! Alright. He tapped my button, walking over towards me and promptly tossing the poem at me like he had yesterday. Why? Can't you- what the- what? Hold on, what? What was that? I need to slow that down in editing just to find out what the fuck that said. Holy shit. Shattered bottles. Color of hope. Shining, sparkling, happy thoughts. All shattered, all broken. On your dirty floor. The charm, a broken promise, too lazy to care. Surrounded by rain clouds, surrounded by hopelessness. Lucky special forgiveness. Terms for someone who deserves it. Because you aren't. You defeated shattered bottle on the floor. That's fucked up. I kind of want to punch him in the face. So, to me, this kind of seems like MC's like, hey, Sayori, you're depressed. You don't deserve happiness. That's pretty much what this is saying to me. This one is somehow even worse than yesterday's poem. I put it back on the desk, trying not to let my tears well up. Why is he so mean? I looked up at him and swallowed my hurt feelings. I like this one a lot, Devin. Just stop lying, honestly. Just who the fuck cares if he finds out? Just beat the shit out of him already. I smiled as brightly as I could. Monica stood just off to the side watching the interaction. As the encounter played out, her frown grew and grew as she stared at the 2 of us. I'm glad, because that means it's at least better than yesterday's. You wish! And not as I felt my frown force its way in, overriding my fake smile as I tried to give him. I stared down at my own desk, trying to say what I needed to. Well, I'm not the best at figuring out poems, so I might not be the best judge. He rolled his eyes. Well, I don't even know what kind of poems you like. I looked up at him confused, as I thought he might have known by now. Well, I like happy poems, and sad ones. Both? The word is bittersweet, right? I did honestly like bittersweet, and it was the easiest way to express myself without the others catching on. Although after the roof earlier, I think most of them have at least some level of suspicion. Yeah, bittersweet. I nodded as I pushed my thoughts away. I could feel my gut twist slightly as I pulled out my poem and handed it to him. I know he won't read it. I looked over at Monica. Her worry seemed to have grown even more now that she looked at me. I smiled weakly, in a feeble attempt to reassure her. I want to go home. With her. He dropped the paper and looked at me. This can't be written by you. I smiled at him, trying to stay in character. Of course I wrote it, silly. It's all by me. Totally all by me, not some video game. He seemed taken aback by as he read it over again. He read it twice? This is just... It doesn't sound like you at all. I shrugged. Well, it's what I wanted to write, and I think it turned out really well. He nodded in astonishment as he smiled. You're really into this stuff, aren't you? I laughed a little. I'm gonna keep writing until I... Oh. I stopped myself. Until I can't write anymore. Oh, jeez. I love how they caught the whole, like, fourth wall breaking there, where it's like a foreshadowing. I smiled brightly, Monica looking at me funny. But does that mean, now that she didn't say that, does that mean maybe it foreshadows that's not gonna happen? I smiled brightly, Monica looking at me funny. Later, okay? Alright, Yuri's turn. He chose my name as he faced me and slowly made his way over. Even a rat could see he's interested in me. I frowned to myself before he sat down across from me, my small smile struggling to come up. Hello, Devin. Let's see what you have for me today. I reached down and held up the second of his disgusting poems for me. Oh, here. Is this the fucking Naifu Waifu again? God damn it, Devin. Why would you do this? Why the fuck would you... Oh my god, I fucking can't even. Isn't this what the other one was called? The Naifu Waifu? One's imagination, so sincere, so secretive, hiding behind the eyes of a raccoon, darkened circles telling all, uncontrollable feelings, a whirlwind of crimson entropy, the bread crumbling, the knife, slicing roughly, a captive of lust, wow, a sin of wrath, let the blood run dry, let the blood run free, a worthy, final climax. I looked it over, reading the similarities between my work and his. So this is the game you want to play, huh? I put it down and slid it back over to him, letting out a quiet sigh. This is much better in comparison to yesterday. It seems you're taking up my advice quickly. I said it with minimal pride, also somehow feeling satisfaction rise with my chest. It's just fake in the end. The feeling faded away into nothing rather quickly. Well, maybe it's because you did such a good job explaining it to me. I really did try to make it have more imagery. I nodded. He was being truthful, albeit on a technicality. I see. I appreciate you enjoy my help so much. I felt my stomach turn a little, but it was alright. At this point, it was already halfway over. For once the character model seemed uncertain. Welcome. I looked at him oddly before is this starting to turn into like, okay, well now the MC's starting to kind of break away from the script? I'm curious. I looked at him oddly before I looked away. Anyway, do you want to share your poem with me today? I held up my second day poem to him, and he took it and read it over in his usual extreme speed. I wish he would actually care. I did put a bit more effort in this time. I said it quietly as he looked up at me, his expression staying rather dull. I can see that. It's a lot more metaphorical. Geez, is that really the best word you can come up with? I felt my frown come up again. It is closer to what I prefer to write, so yeah. I guess it is more metaphorical. He looked down at the poem again, surprisingly, before looking up at me. I can't really figure it out, though. It's kinda deep. I smiled at myself. Even in coded form, my character was deep. It's about a raccoon and bread. I like raccoons. I said it cheerfully as he looked at me. I wasn't about to reveal the real intentions behind that poem. I see. Well, I guess that's fair enough. Raccoons are cool. He seemed bashful. Well, if you're ready, I'm sure the others are waiting, but thanks for reading. She's like trying to swipe him away at this point. I said it without even thinking, my tone dropping as he stood up. It's nothing, really. He went back over to his normal spot. I looked back down at my desk, waiting for it to be over. Alright, next is Natsuki, I think. Hi, Natsuki. Here he comes. I grimaced slightly as he chose my name, my anger rising as he approached. Wait, can't I? As he sat down across from me, Monika's words rang loudly in my head. Natsuki-sama. Sama? He's ignoring you. What is that supposed to be? Is that like a Japanese thing? Monika poses dramatically. Use your ultimate attack. Ultimate attack. I don't remember this happening. Hey, if you aren't gonna write these poems for anybody, then you can screw off. Oh god. Everybody's like, what the fuck did you just say? I said it loudly as the other girls faced me surprised. The MC looked absolutely shocked at my response. I'm sorry, but I turned my head. I said screw off! Oh fuck. I looked back at him and fear was clearly displayed as he stood up and walked away. Damn. Holy shit. Talk about I'm not really tough. That was pretty tough to me, Natsuki. Nailed it. Well then, guess we're not sharing with Natsuki. He tapped my button and approached me. He looked a bit apprehensive. You're acting funny today. He stopped in front of me and I smiled widely. Hello again, Devin. Wait, did Monika say that? Oh, okay. So I guess maybe they're all kind of I guess they're all kind of figuring out that something's going on here. I leaned forward a little. I know he likes that. So, what have you brought me today? I just fucking squeaked, I'm sorry. A masterpiece? He smiled slightly. I kinda doubt that'll ever happen. I smiled a little less as he handed me his poem, preparing for something hateful. Monika knows. Just a little... Wait a minute. Just a little bit of Monika, nothing more. A little bit of Monika, nothing less. Why does it sound like the fucking whole... What's that song called again? And then somebody made it just straight Monika? Just a little extra and the world might crumble, might break, might lose itself in the madness. Back and forth, line to line, back and forth, number to number. The end? It isn't true. It's only failure. Nobody's safe. A little bit of Monika. Classic. I laughed a little to myself as I handed it back to him. This one's good. It really expresses you as a person. I smirked a little bit as the player model put the poem away. Just curious, but did you find inspiration from Yuri's writing style? Yours is quite similar to hers. Yuri looked up at me along with Natsuki, the two of them watching me. Well, hers is quite interesting. I smiled and winked towards the two girls. Well, I think her style is quite romantic. It's really deep and thoughtful. He nodded. It does take a lot to understand it, though. Yuri seemed a bit taken aback by the interaction, but her face was becoming redder. Natsuki's eyebrow raising as she looked upon my conversation. Well, it takes time, but she's very intelligent in that regard. The player model flashed an uncertain look for once, before quickly reverting to his usual dumb and doofus self. I took charge, wanted to end the conversation. Well, how about you take a look at my poem then? I'm sure you'll like it. He took the poem from me and barely looked it over before slipping it over to me once again. You have a really interesting way to write this stuff. It's so... I smiled. Abstract? He nodded as he seemed to be deep in thought, my mind running through the next step. Anyways, here's my writing tip of the day. I smirked. I love this one. Whatever happens, oh my god, ow, fuck it, squeaked again. Whatever happens, don't forget to save your game. You never know when you might change your mind or when something expected may happen. I smiled as I cut it off, and the MC fidgeting slightly to that comment, his code unable to process what happened. He turned and walked away without another word. The silence brought bliss to my ears. Wonderful. Alright, everyone. What happened to okay, everyone? I miss the okay, everyone. Alright, everyone, it's just like an alternate version of it. Which I get it, it's an alternate reality. But, but I mean, hey, okay, everyone, that's like your fucking catchphrase. Monika said it loudly, breaking me out of my trance. What else is... Oh. I looked up at her as the other two moved up, the last line having completely went through my head. Is this about the festival? Monika smirked as Natsuki asked us. Wow, I can't fucking read. My gut dropping a little bit. I had forgotten about what was coming later. Isn't that nice? I felt my frown grow a bit more as I spoke, my head wandering off to places. Sayori's been putting up posters all around the school, too. I felt my eyes widen as I looked down to the poster paper I hadn't even touched. Oh gosh darn it. I held it up anyways, my head pounding. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Did I just ruin this? I did, didn't I? Why do I always... Have you two been putting these up already? Natsuki said accusingly as I put it back down. I really didn't want to be here much longer after that poem. but for them, I can take it. I fought back my emotions. I'll talk to Monica later. She seems to care. A lot, really. I look up at Monica, my uneasy stomach settling. She's really nice to me. I looked at everyone else as well, my smile returning slowly. He doesn't control me. Nobody does. I like everyone, and he doesn't know me. I felt my head clear up a bit more, my rain clouds drifting away from my head. Look at me being all self-confident. I smiled to myself as the girls slowly played out their act. Guys, I said it dejectedly, albeit I didn't feel dejected at the moment. The act continued to onwards, and I occasionally piped up when I needed to. Eventually, after some faked poem reading and a little more chatter, we had reached the end of our festival preparations. Cool! So does that mean the mod decides to skip through the entirety of the boring reading poems? I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy listening to the poems and stuff, but like for some reason, whenever I come across that part where it's like I have to watch them all share poems and stuff, it seems very, very repeated. And it just becomes like a task. I don't really enjoy going through it every single time. So it's good that a lot of mods nowadays just ends up kind of skipping over that part. I'm very glad they do that too, because they must have like the same sort of idea I do. Cool. I'm excited, not for the mean stuff, of course, but for the festival. Monica had said that the game had never reached a festival before. Maybe there's big chocolate chip cookies there, or cool things to do. I felt my spirits raise again as I glanced over at the clock. I realized the club at school had just ended and... oh no. Okay, everyone, there it is! Monica smiled brightly as she stood up at the front of the room. I think today's meeting is over. Thank you all for sharing and agreeing to the sudden change. I really do appreciate it. She sounded extremely sincere as her face dropped a little. Monica focused her attention towards me as the MC approached my desk quietly. Excuse me. You ready to go home, Sayori? I looked up at him and tried to smile as I stood up. Yeah, huh? Let's go. I turned to walk out the door, his model following suit, leaving behind my only friends. The only friends I need, that is. We walked most of the way home in silence. When we got near our houses, however, the MC spoke up. Hey, Sayori? I look over at him. Yeah? Sorry, I was just thinking. My doubts had come back just a little. I tried to push the thoughts of the festival away. Why does this keep happening to me? Just being near him made me feel really awful. You alright? I smiled whimsically through the pain. Yeah, I was just wondering though. If Yuri offered to walk home with you, would you do it? He seemed taken aback, but his answer was obvious. He seemed flustered. Well, I mean, I'm your neighbor. It would be dumb for me to do so. I smiled. I understand, Devin. Yuri is really intelligent and beautiful. I smiled at him. Soon you won't need me anymore. Is that Sayori? Or is that MC? Or is that Monica? I don't know what the fuck that is. My choice of words hit me harder than I thought they would. Oh, so Sayori said that. Soon you won't need me anymore. Oh, okay. So basically, Sayori said that and is now regretting that. My gut was feeling like it just wrenched out and shoved back in. What? Sayori, I can't figure out what's going on in your head. I smiled sadly. It's alright, I can't either. He rolled his eyes as he left me finally, going into his house and disappearing inside. The moment he slipped into his house, it hit me again. He isn't real. The words sunk into my mind as I walked over to the sidewalk and sat down, looking up in the air as at the slowly setting sun. He isn't real. I glanced down at the street, standing up and slowly making strides down it. He isn't real. I tried to push these thoughts away, but to no avail. Is Sayori starting to kind of succumb to the code? I painfully walked past his house, a place I thought I knew my whole life. He isn't real. I stopped at the end of the road, looking out over the broken town. Any semblance of a smile I had faded from my face. He isn't real. I just stared out for a moment. This is real. Is it? Or is it actually becoming real, or is it straight like, well, Sayori is just kind of giving in to the game? My smile returned a little bit as I looked out into the horizon. My rain clouds drifting away once again. I know it is. I know everything will be alright. I wasn't sure just the last time I'd say that to myself, but for some reason, this time it felt genuine. I have everyone's help. They'll help me. Monica did that one time. The thought struck me like a train. Still reeling, my head feeling a bit light. I turned back to my house, briskly entering and quickly ascending the staircase. That's a sick joke. Is this why it always feels so familiar? I reached my bedroom door. I gently opened the door. Am I the only one who feels like something just went terribly wrong? No, this is gonna be another longer one, by the way. I definitely don't find this. You can't end it here. I hate cliffhangers. I cannot leave it here, so I need to play a little bit more. Hope you guys will understand this. Natsuki piped up quietly as he walked down the street. Sayori's house rising up over the horizon. Stagnating air is common foreshadowing that something terrible is about to happen. Yuri said it quietly, my nerves picking up as we approached. I'm sure it's nothing. Today's just been rough for some reason. She looked askew for a moment, almost as if she was lost. But tomorrow will be short and sweet, right? Natsuki and Yuri both nodded as we got to our front door. The three of us quietly entered the house. Sayori herself was nowhere to be seen. Sayori, did everything go well? I said it loudly as we looked around. No response came back. No loud apology for not greeting us or, well, no Sayori. Sayori? I felt genuine panic rise up in my stomach, my eyes widening a little. She isn't down here. The kitchen doesn't even look touched. Natsuki said it as she came back, her worry beginning to cross her face. Her bag is by the door as well. Yuri said it quietly from behind my back. I rushed towards the stair, with somewhat irrational fear taking control of my movements. Monica, is everything alright? I looked back at them. My voice failed me, the pair trailing behind me up the flight of stairs. Worried emotions were beginning to creep onto their faces. We made it up to her room. The door had been left ajar, almost as if to invite us in. I pushed it open, not wanting to repeat any previous incidents or slow-moving actions. Sayori was sitting on her bed, a slight stroke of relief washing over me. From behind me, I can make out the other two letting out quiet sighs of relief. Sayori, we're home? Sayori barely registered our presence. Her gaze was fixated on a dull gray ceiling fan in the middle of her room. Did I say fixated? I didn't mean to say that. Fixated. Sayori. Natsuki had left our group and was sitting down next to Sayori. The coral-haired girl looked over at Natsuki, her eyes staying low as she finally took notice of the three of us in her room. Hey, sorry guys, I'm feeling a bit tired today. Natsuki frowned a little, crossing her arms. You're a terrible liar, Sayori. Yuri's expression shifted to a bit of shock, mine following suit. Sayori's eyes widened slightly in response. Natsuki persisted the point. I know, I'm probably not the one you want to talk to, but you gotta be open about this sort of stuff. She seemed to be trying her hardest to console, her voice shaking slightly as she finished. I know it's hard, but... Sayori finally shook her head, focus slipping from Natsuki to the floor. It isn't that, it's something else. Her gaze drifted over to me, her eyes flaring up with... Oh. Does Sayori know? Does Sayori fucking know? Natsuki noticed her glance and stood up, moving out of the way. I see, it's something about you two. She stuffed out of the way and grasped Yuri's sleeve before leading out of the room. Yuri shot me a quick glance, her eyes awash in a mix of forgiveness and sincerity. I hoped I could wait until after this week, but I looked back at Sayori as the other two left, the door shutting behind me. You need to tell me something? Sayori stayed quiet as she patted beside her on the bed, my nerves constantly shooting up. Next to you? Sure. Is she gonna yell at me? I deserve it, don't I? I sat down next to her and averted my gaze away from Sayori. It felt like hours before I could finally look at her. She was staring up at the fan again. Monica. I felt something twinge inside of me as I looked at her. It's the death of Sayori music. Sayonara. She slowly looked down at me, her anger still mildly present. Why did you lie to me? I felt my throat close up as I looked away from her. Monica, why? I slowly turned back to her look at her. She was staring at me dead on. I couldn't find a response to this, my mind going blank. I know Yuri and Natsuki would be angry, but her? I swallowed once as she continued to stare at me. I was unable to really answer her. Why? Monica, I know you think you can't, but I'm being serious. I just want to know why. She got up off her bed and staunched over to the closet, opening it and gesturing towards the back. I kept it in here, and after I woke up earlier this week, I decided to throw it away for good. She splayed her hands towards me, and it was gone. Immediately, I know what she was referring to, and my muscles tightened. I did that. I let go of that. She looked at me directly again, her anger was still present. What I want to know is why you'd even considered what you did was a good idea, Monica. I looked down at my hands, unable to speak. Did you really love him? I looked up at her, my voice failing me once again. Failing them. Did you? She repeated herself to me. I nodded slowly as I stared at her, her anger going away little by small. Being here by yourself, it drove you mad, right? I nodded again, but with less hesitation this time. I'm not angry because you made me, no, us do the terrible things we did. Sayori let out a sigh, her shoulders sagging more with every breath she took. I'm angry because you couldn't tell us right away. I looked at her, taking nearly no time for it to dawn on me. What have I done to them? I couldn't. I thought it would cause you guys to not want to agree with this whole... She shook her head as she came over to me, taking a seat on the bed once more. Didn't you hear what I said, Monica? That I would support you with this? I noticed something in her eyes start to change. I forgive you for all of it. I know you regret it. You saved me. You did everything for us. Her voice cracked, her anger diminishing. Sayori. Tears started to flow freely from her as she tried to stay upright. Do you not trust me? Do you not trust us? I felt something overcome my senses as I hugged her tightly, her arms wrapping around me. Sayori, I do trust you. I clenched the back of her uniform. I trust all three of you a lot. She buried her face into my shoulder. I wasn't sure if you did. I laughed a little. Well, you probably won't trust me now. Not for a while. Sayori pulled away from my hug and looked at me. Of course I still trust you. For the most part. She said it quietly as she smiled again, a hint of playfulness on her lips. That's a genuine smile. I love getting those. As the smile left as quickly as it appeared, however, she pulled away from me and looked at me seriously. I'll help you talk to them tonight, okay? I felt my heart drop a little as I looked at her. Tonight? But we still have tomorrow. Sayori put a reassuring hand on my shoulder, her calmness evident. It'll be fine. Plus, Yuri is really the only one who needs to worry about tomorrow, right? I nodded. And Yuri is very calm about these things, so please don't be afraid to talk to us. I look at her directly. She's being supportive even though I hurt her. I felt a smile creep up onto my lips as she smiled back, and only then did the realization hit me. I can be honest now. We need each other, and lying isn't going to get us anywhere. I felt my sense of determination come back as I sighed, sitting up straight. So, is there anything you want to do to calm down? Sayori seemed to go deep in thought. I have some new games and stuff that I haven't checked to see if they work yet. I raised an eyebrow. The irony of the statement supersedes my expectations. And that's where I'm leaving it. So, oh my god, that was a whole lot to take in. Holy shit. How the what about any of that just happened, like, led to, okay, now Sayori knows? Like, she basically said, this is real, and that's kind of the only hint we got. I don't, she didn't succumb to the code, but somehow she figured out what Monica did. How? I want the answers to that. How did she figure that out? I might not get an answer, who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If I don't, that's fine too, but I'll forever have that in question, honestly. But I am going to leave it here. This is really picking up, and the end is, I can feel the end is almost near, because we have one more in-game day left. We've got Sunday happening, and then it's the day of the festival. So who knows what's going to happen at that point. But without further ado, I am going to leave it here. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'd love to this channel. You guys got a Discord, come and check me out outside of YouTube. It's a fun time for all. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making up with you guys in my next one. Goodbye!